Welcome to KW Music TV and a quick tip video on how to memorise on the piano. This is a controversial topic. Many teachers will have different views, but essentially memorisation is important. We want to be able to memorise music. And in the beginning stages, when we're a beginner on the piano, maybe it's not that important, but as we gain some maturity, gain some confidence, and a little bit of experience on the piano, we want to be able to memorise pieces. If you think about it, you might go to a friend's house and you've got a piano there and they say play a piece and then you can't memorise it, you haven't memorised it. And of course what happens? Well, you're frustrated. You want to be able to show some music, play some music, but your music's back at home, your sheet music. So it's good to be able to memorise, and there's many strategies and techniques that professionals use to actually memorise music. This is just one tip. We're going to use Tango in D by the Spanish composer Albanese to show you some ways of how to do this. So the music will appear on the screen and then I'll take you through it. Now this piece is quite an advanced piece. It's generally about grade 6, but all the techniques can be applied to any other piece at all. So let's take a look at how we can do this. So we've got here the first opening section of the music, as you can see, and we're just going to take the first 4 bars as an example. You've got your left hand pattern. And so on, and the right hand. Etc. How do you memorise that? It looks quite complicated on the music, doesn't it? Quite hard to actually put together that if you're trying to memorise it. So this is just one way. Try to look for shapes on the music. For instance, if you're good at music theory, you'll notice that this opening section is all based around the D major chord. There's a D major. You've got D, A in the left hand, the 5th of the chord, to D. Then you go up here, the 5th of the chord is A, D again, A. So it's all based around D major. So that helps you straight away think, well, I know where D is. This is the second inversion of the D major chord that I'm going to be playing this section by. There is a root note of A, but I've also got the root version of the D major chord in my right hand there. As I go up to this more complicated section, how can I memorise this? Well, again, shapes. Notice a D major chord, the 3rd of the chord, F sharp, with a D. Okay, I'm now going up the scale of D major, D, E, F sharp. So it's all D major. Octave F sharp there, so I can go the 7th of the D major scale, the C sharp, a little crush note into the D major chord again, F sharp and D, and then this little bit here is a little bit different. How can I memorise this? The E sharp and the B. Well, simply memorise it by that is a tritone. F to B, it's a tritone. Remember that shape, it's a tritone or diminished 5th, sorry. Going up to the F sharp. And I'm now going to finish on a C sharp and a G, which is the shape of a C diminished. This is a C diminished chord. So I've got the outer notes of a C diminished. So you can see I'm memorising by the theory of what chord I'm using. And then I would start to practice it. And I would actually take those 2 bars on their own, first of all. And I would shut my music and try to remember it's D to a D major. D in the left hand to a D major. Then I've got this shape here, which is a nice D chord. And I'm just going to memorise that whole phrase, to be honest, there. going like this. And I'll do that 20, 30 times, looking at my hands, not looking at the music. And over time, that technique will help you ground your eyes to where you are on the piano. And you do that in 4-bar sections, all through the piece. And that is how you memorise. And then, of course, it becomes a little bit bigger and you think, well, I can memorise the whole of the first section, then I'm going to go into the second section, and I'll memorise it as individual parts. First section, second section, third section, fourth section, and it's a scaffolding technique. That's a very simple way of doing it. There are many others. If you're not very good at music theory and you don't know, for instance, that this is a D major chord and that this was a C sharp diminished chord, there are other ways. For instance, the shape of the notes in comparison with black and white notes. That's a good way of doing it. For instance, the D major chord is white, black, white, evenly spaced. So if you're just good at sort of reading, if you're playing this sort of piece, I would hope that you can read which notes are which. So you can go, okay, I know I'm on a D and it's a black note, and then I'm going to a white note again. And there's my shape. Rather than just staring at the music all day, where your brain won't actually process what that translates at onto the piano. It will just continue to be lazy, looking at the music, saying, well, I'm all right, because the music's always going to be there. So you have to train your brain physically during the practice process of getting that inside your head. That's a very short way of describing it. It's just one particular tip. If you're interested in any more tips, please get in touch with me at www.kwmusic.co.uk. Please get in touch and we can answer any more questions and maybe sign up for some lessons with me. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.